But it begins with going to Kansas City and winning. You want to win? You want to get in the playoffs after what's been a bad year for your team? Go win in Kansas City at 6-6, right? I'm telling you, I used to say I don't trust anybody in the AFC except the Chiefs. I don't trust the Chiefs anymore. They're just not good.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel presented by Connors and Ferris. I'm Mike Catalano. Thanks for being with us. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you like our content. We are getting set for the Bills to resume post-bye week. So right now I'm going to do a few things. I want to look at where they stand right now. I know everybody's been down. Bills fans certainly down after that loss to the Eagles, but I'm going to tell you why I found reasons to be very encouraged. We're going to look at the way the conference stacks right now. They got some good news and not so great news over the weekend. I want to talk to you guys about officiating in the NFL and the way we all react to it and what people think. And also an update, at least for right now, where the team is with Von Miller and what we can expect now. But let's look at the Bills right now. And when the game got done, obviously a wild game, and we've talked a lot about the game against the Eagles. When it got done, I know there's a lot of people down, some people saying the season's over, all those kind of things. Well, all you got to do is look at the playoff standings and realize the season's not over. And I'm going to tell you one reason why I don't think it's even close to over is I keep saying this, and I've said it since the day after that game. And before we saw what happened with the Chiefs again last night, the Bills are going to Kansas City, and I think they're going to win. I think they're a better team right now than the Chiefs. And that's hard to say with the way the Bills have played. When I say a better team, I think the offense can certainly get it done against Kansas City. That offense is struggling, the Kansas City offense. And you keep thinking, well, they're coming off the bye week. And the Eagles, whose defense is really not good, as we saw when the Bills played them, as you saw when they played the Niners, they handled the Chiefs' offense. They did in that game. They shut them out in the second half of the game. They have Patrick Mahomes. They have Andy Reid. It is not a great offense. The defense is good. They're solid. But Green Bay put it to them yesterday. Now, did the Packers get a big call late in the game? Absolutely. We'll talk more about the officiating later. Green Bay won that game and outplayed him. And it's Green Bay. The team has got some talent. They're young. Jordan Love. This is Josh Allen and the Bills. They've won there twice. Twice in the regular season in the last few years. And I think they're going to go there and win again. So let's see. Because when we talk about where the Bills are in the playoff chase, they got to win games, right? We keep saying they're alive and what can happen. But at some point, you got to win. And I think that begins. I think this is the tipping point game for them. Look, if you lose, it gets to the point where when you start to see all the teams, the margin for error is very, very small. I think they go there and win. I think they do. Now, I'm going under that premise because otherwise it's not even worth looking at what else happens in the division and in the conference. Because when you look at the teams, and this is the part that would just kill you as a Bills fan, if this team doesn't get in and get a chance, because this conference is wide open. Who do you trust in the AFC? Miami's good. They're really good. That offense is lethal. We've seen it against good teams. We've seen it at times where, you get Tua off of his reads and he's not what we've seen him against the mediocre or the bad teams. Tyreek Hill might end up winning. I don't think he's going to win it, but he could win the MVP of the league. But do you trust the Dolphins in a big spot? And if you're a Bills fan, you know how Josh Allen plays against them. So I'm just looking at who the division leaders are. Jacksonville's really good. They're not great, but they're really good. They beat the Bills in London. At the time, we weren't sure about the Jags, but that's who they are. I just mentioned the Chiefs. I mean, honestly, if the Bills were to go there and win on Sunday, they're only a game behind the Chiefs. I know that really won't matter unless the Bills somehow still won the AFC East. But when you look at it that way, that's where they are. And that now you have the Ravens. And I think the Ravens are good, tough, a team that should be really good in the playoffs. But they haven't been. And Lamar hasn't done that. I think he can. I think that team's got a lot of components. They miss Mark Andrews, but they have some talented players on the outside. But let's see if Lamar can do it. So The reason I bring that up is it's wide open in the AFC. You just have to get in. So let's look at the teams and who the Bills are chasing because they got the Bills have their tough ones, right? You start out in Kansas City. You come home with a win. They get the Cowboys, who are a very good team. Now they have the Eagles on Sunday. Massive game for them. I always say, you've heard me say it, it's not just who you play, it's when you play them. Win or lose on Sunday for the Cowboys. If the Bills win against the Chiefs, I think the Bills are catching them at a great time. Bills would still be very much in the playoff chase. Dallas coming off, let's say, a big emotional win against the Eagles, tied for first in the NFC East. You get them up in the cold of Buffalo. I like the Bills' chances in that circumstances. Again, this team needs to steal a couple wins against good teams because they've choked away games against teams certainly like the New England Patriots, like the Jets with Zach Wilson. Even that Broncos game. I mean, Denver has been better. It's a game you had to win at home, and they lose that game. So they've given away enough. It's time for them to steal a couple back. And obviously, we just saw what happened with the Eagles, but that was a back and forth game against a team that was in the Super Bowl a year ago. This is different. They lost some games they had no business losing. So they got to go win a few if you want to make the playoffs. These are the two. So I think it's not a simple thing that I'm just saying they're going to go win those games. It would be massive wins for them. But if they really want to make it, they put themselves in a great spot. So I'm going to look at the conference. The three teams in the playoffs right now is wild cards. Steelers, Colts, Browns. All of them playing with backup quarterbacks. The Steelers, I don't know if Mitchell Trubisky is that big of a drop down from Kenny Pickett. I really don't. That offense is just bad. I mean, they have a few good players. They fired their offensive coordinator. They're 7-5, 5-3 in the conference. Like right now, they're a playoff team. They have the Patriots on Thursday. Patriots are the worst team in the NFL. So let's start with that. If you see the Patriots on the schedule right now, I'd be surprised if they beat anybody because they have no offense at all, as you saw against the Chargers. But then they play at the Colts. Good for the Bills. Two of these playoff teams playing each other. They play the Bengals. They go to Seattle, and they end up at the Ravens. Now, they may catch the Ravens that last week where the game means nothing to them. That could be a downside for Bills fans if you need them to lose. But you never know what the Ravens are playing for. They could be playing for the 1 seed. So you just look at that schedule and watch Pittsburgh. I don't know what they're going to end up with a record, but that is certainly a team that when I look at that schedule, the only game I know they'll win, I shouldn't say no because it's the NFL, would be the New England game. The rest of them, coin flips. Colts, Bengals. At Seattle will be a tough one for them in the Ravens. Then you have the Colts. You know, that's a pretty fun team to watch. Gardner Minshew at quarterback, right? Shane Steichen, who was the Eagles OC the year before. You know, they're playing the backup Minshew, but he's got experience. He's winning games. They're 7-5. Huge win for them against the Titans. They come back. They win it in overtime. They've got the Bengals, again, a team without its quarterback. They have the Steelers. So I said, these playoff teams playing each other. At the Falcons is an oddly difficult game. Atlanta might very well win the NFC South. So you got to go there and play Raiders and Texans. Texans, another team that's fighting for the playoffs. So again, the Colts are good. They probably deserve to make it because they've hung in there this year in a team that a lot of people thought would win 3 games, but they're there. And then the Browns, who they still have that defense. Quarterback situation is a mess with the injuries and just poor play. Their defense still has a lot of talent, but they have the Jags after this week. The Jags play on the Monday night game as I'm recording this against Cincinnati. But then the Browns have the Jags. The Bears should be a win for them. But again, at the Texans, it's like we say, 2 playoff teams playing each other, the Jets, and then at the Bengals. I kind of like the Browns schedule. I just don't like the Browns offense. So let's see. With no Nick Chubb, obviously they've been playing without him. So those are the teams. Texans are interesting. They're 4-3 in the conference. By the way, the Colts and the Browns both 5-3, much better than the Bills. The Texans have the Jets at the Titans. They have the Titans twice, home and away. You know, division game. They've got the Browns in between, and then they end with the Colts. Again, when these two teams are meeting each other, this is good if you're chasing those teams, right? Because somebody's going to lose, like the game yesterday between the Broncos and the Texans. So you have that. And I mentioned the Broncos. They beat the Bills head to head. If it were to somehow come down to the two teams even up, otherwise it goes to the combined record of the teams against each other. But they have a bad record in the conference, like the Bills at 3-5, and they're 6-6 overall. They have the Chargers, Detroit, New England, the Raiders, and the Cardinals is their game. So let's see how it matches up going forward. I look at the Bills' schedule and I'm like, yeah, they still have to go. They go to the Chargers and play. They have New England, again, which should be a win, and they end with Miami. Now, we'll talk about this if the Bills win the next two games, okay? Would the division still be in play? You've got to end up a game behind Miami. I don't see that happening. Miami's got some tough games coming up. The Bills would have to win out, right? You'd have to pick up two games over this period of time because what are they, 9-3 now? The Bills are 6-6, or 3 games behind them. They'd have to pick up 2 games, and then the game at the end would be for the division title. So that's a long shot. But Miami's got a couple of tough games down the stretch. I don't know. I still don't think that's happening. I think they're winning the division. So it would be an oddity if, say, that went well for the Bills. They get to that last game of the year. Miami doesn't need it. Maybe already has clinched, say, the 2 seed or whatever it is. Do they rest players against the Bills? Bills win, get in, and go back to Miami the next week. These are all things in my simple mind I keep thinking about all the time, how it could end up. But it begins with going to Kansas City and winning. You want to win? You want to get in the playoffs after what's been a bad year for your team? Go win in Kansas City at 6-6, right? I'm telling you, I used to say I don't trust anybody in the AFC except the Chiefs. I don't trust the Chiefs anymore. They're just not good. Kelsey's good, but he's not a game breaker. They have nothing else on offense that scares anybody. Pacheco's maybe their third best player playing there. None of their wide receivers. So when Josh Allen plays like Josh Allen, the Bills can beat anybody, including the Chiefs in Kansas City. They've done it twice. Again, I don't think that offense is what it was. Bills will have to play smart. They'll have to play better. I love them getting the bye after that brutal loss. They needed it. Let's see how they come back in this one. So while we're talking about that, let's talk about Von Miller. I don't know what to tell you guys because you're lying if you think you know anything. I don't know anything. We try to. The Bills are doing what teams do. I could have predicted the comment, their statement, which was, we're aware of it. We'll have no further comment at this time. What are they going to say? At the moment I'm recording this, he's not been put on the commissioner's list. I'm a little bit surprised that hasn't happened. For those of you who aren't aware, you've seen players go on this list. I think Adrian Peterson did a few years ago when he had the thing with his son and the punishment of his son. And there's been other players when they've gotten in trouble for something. They put them on the commissioner's list, which to me is sort of like parking them somewhere. They get paid. I'm not really worried about the guy getting paid. I know some people get upset about that. He has not been convicted of anything. But in these circumstances, I don't know how he goes out on the field and plays for the Bills. He has been arrested on charges, domestic abuse charges. Now, again, according to the reports in Dallas, the woman involved has said it's basically, and I'm paraphrasing, been overblown. It's not what happened. There's the 911 call. There's a lot of things that I think the Bills are certainly privy to more than they're telling us or will tell us. I'm just saying is the way it works in this league now. Years ago, the guy would have played. The NFL usually at this point puts a player on the commissioner's list and he sits out until they get it figured out. And sometimes the player stays there for a while. I don't know. I still believe, I'm a little bit surprised, and this is on Monday afternoon, that he's right now on the active roster and going. I don't know if we're going to hear anything. We're not able to talk to the team until Wednesday. Sean McDermott always talks. Kind of unfair all the time that Sean McDermott gets put out there, but he didn't sign Von Miller. Brandon Beane did. I think it's an organizational thing, whether it's at some point it's Terry Pagula who needs to speak or certainly Brandon Beane. And I don't know what's going to happen. When they put a player on the commissioner's list, usually the team says, He's on the list. It's in the hands of the NFL. We'll wait until it's done. I personally believe that's what's going to happen, but we don't know. Now, there's the football part of it. So right now, let's be honest. I hate even until we know what's going on, but just bear with me here because you're thinking of football too. Von Miller, the football player, is doing nothing for this team at the moment. They will not miss him on the field at the moment. The hope was that he would ramp up, be better. He hasn't been. He's been totally ineffective since he came back. So to me, it's more of a how does the team handle this with the way it looks for them with a player with this arrest on his record, and they wait to see how the court system works, whether this person presses charges or the evidence alone allows the authorities in Dallas to do something. It's still an issue for the franchise. This is the way it works in the football world, in the real world. I know innocent till proven guilty, which is the case. That's not the way it always works in professional sports or in high profile situations. So we have to wait for that. But from a football perspective, at the moment, they won't miss him. But that's secondary at this moment. I don't know. And I'm telling you this on Monday. We'll see what we know on Tuesday or Wednesday. Certainly when Sean McDermott talks, we may get the same thing. I've reached out to the Bills multiple times. The answer is the same, no further comment. And I get why they're doing it because there's not much they're going to be able to say. So we'll see what decisions are made. So it's not great. It's not great for this franchise that's had other issues. It's not great for Von Miller, who's had some of this in his past. But at the moment, I hate to say hurry up and wait, but that's what the case is. I think we'll know more on Wednesday. We'll certainly know if there's a possibility that he's playing in the game. That still would surprise me. But at the moment, he's on the active roster and nothing has changed. So sorry if that's not enough information. Go ahead and comment with what you think. But I'm being honest with you. I don't know any more than that. No one is talking in the organization and in the league at the moment. So that being the case. Yeah, I like talking about the games. I like talking about what's going on, but it's a very real thing with the franchise. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the officiating. There was a call in that Chiefs game, just horrendous. I don't know how they don't call pass interference. The point I try to make to people a lot of times is that's Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. They didn't get the call. You know why? Because the ref missed it. Because it's a bad call, bad no call, obvious call. I don't know how they miss it. In the Miami game against the Eagles, not only was the Eagles guy commit pass interference, he grabbed the guy's face mask at the same time. They didn't call it. Bills fans, I know you're upset about the horse collar on Josh Allen. I don't really agree with the explanation from the NFL that it wasn't one, but at least in that case, they thought they had an explanation. Again, I don't agree with it. I think it was a horse collar, but they had one. There's no explanation for this one. I mean, that referee's going to get dinged. I'm not exactly sure what the process is, but when the Chiefs came, I mean, it was a blatant pass interference, and I don't know how they miss it, but they do. My point is there are bad calls, okay? The referee is not sitting there saying, the Kansas City Chiefs are my favorite team, and I love Patrick Mahomes, and I'm going to give him every call, or I've bet $1 million on the Chiefs. It's not happening. It's just the way fans whine when they don't get a call. Everybody's emotional. It just happens. The ref is not cheating against your team. You think he is because you didn't get the call. That's not what it is. He's made a bad call. He's missed the call. They get judged on it. They sometimes lose their assignments. Sometimes they end up losing their jobs. It doesn't come from one bad call. Guy can make a brutal call. If he has a history and they've been monitoring him, there was a ref, I think 2 years ago, that ended up losing his job. Why do we have so many bad calls in this league? It's not because the games are fixed. I hate to break it to you. The games are not fixed, okay? There was no script from the NFL. All right, stand on the field one time and watch a game and tell me it's fixed or tell me it's planned. You know how difficult it would be for one referee to fix a game? There are, I believe, 8 different officials who can call a penalty in the game. Are they all in on it? Are they all getting a chunk of the money? The games are not fixed, okay? You're just upset because your team didn't get a call. And if you bet on the game, I tell people a lousy call can help you as much as it can hurt you, okay? I think we have an officiating problem because the rules have too many levels to them. Used to be you caught the ball, you dropped the ball. And I'm not going back 100 years. It used to be. Then they turned the catch into 97 different parts. And sometimes in slow motion, they still can't figure it out. And does the ball become ajar when it hits the ground? Did he have full possession? Did he take a third step? None of this existed before. Now it exists. And now we can slow it down with tremendous clarity from the television cameras. And everybody sees the, quote, mistake. Go down on the field and watch it in real time sometime, or even be in the stadium. Watch it in real time. There are mistakes made. I just get tired of hearing everybody think the games are fixed, or they love this team or that team. The league loves this team or that team. I think it's even like, I think it was Colin Cowherd, like somebody you probably get mad about, saying, you really think the league fixes games and they don't have the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl for 30 years? I mean, give me a break, okay? The games are played. There are bad calls and bad plays, and it's not because they love or hate your team, okay? It's because sometimes there's refs who probably shouldn't be doing. Hey, I'm all for making them full-time. It would make everybody feel better. It's a tough game to officiate. I think they should use the cameras more. I think they should review things and do it quicker and move the game along. I think sometimes I hear the review, and the guy in the booth yesterday, I'm listening to a broadcast, and they had Sterator in the booth. And he's like, I think it might have been, trying to think what game it was. It was one of the early games. And he's like, yeah, they're going to fix this because the ball was tipped. And he goes, good job by the officials to tip it. And then the broadcasters go, hey, Gene, no, they didn't change the call. And he's like, you're kidding me. How did they miss that? So that's the replay officials seeing the guys on the field make a mistake. So there's a lot of things they need to fix in this game. But the game itself is not fixed. I get tired of hearing that. And the ref is not against your team. Maybe he's just a bad ref. Did you ever think of that? Sometimes that's the case. They do face some repercussions, maybe not as immediate as you want. Sean Hockley did not get fired after that game because he ref 5 games with the Eagles and they won the other 4. Little known fact that there were more penalties called on the Eagles than the other team in those 4 games. And by the way, they won, I think, 27 of their other 30 games without Sean Hockley as the official. So the Chiefs and the Eagles have won a lot of games. It's not strictly because of the referees, but there are bad calls in the game. So that's my venting on a Monday for you. I just wanted to give you a little update on where things stand right now in the conference. Bills need to go to Kansas City and win. That will change a lot. You lose to Kansas City, under 500, then it's just math, and the math is ugly. I think they got to go there and win. You want to be a playoff team, go beat Patrick Mahomes. We will see. All right, make comments. Tell me how wrong I am about the officials. Give me your comment on Von Miller. Tell me who you think is going to make the playoffs. And Sean McDermott's not getting fired, by the way, but go ahead. That can be another comment if you want it. That's going to do it for me, for our team, Dan and Jenna. I'm Mike Catalana. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel presented by Connors and Ferris.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.